You heard me
Okay,
correct?
it's my pleasure to introduce our presenter, my colleague, James Wright. James?
Hello. I'd like to thank everyone for viewing this presentation and attending the first virtual teaching and learning conference. I appreciate your time and spending it here with me today. Also, as you know, it's being recorded and posted on the website, so I thank anyone for viewing this in the future. Hope you find some valuable information in this presentation. For those of you who don't know, my name is James Wright, and I've been working in the electronics and IT industry for about 15 years. Currently, I work with CITL as a classroom technologist, electronics technologist specifically, and we design the AV solutions for classrooms and learning spaces throughout campus. So basically any technology in the classroom, we'll take care of it, from projectors to video cameras and speaker systems. Recently, I completed the Master of Technology Management program at the Marine Institute with Memorial University and the Faculty of Engineering and Applied Sciences. To complete the program, I opted for the research project route, which is equivalent to about 2 courses at the end of the program. To do so, I reached out to a previous instructor of mine, Sean Pendergast, to supervise the project. To develop the project idea, we looked into trends for innovative learning technology and started taking an interest in the use of 360 video for learning opportunities. We started looking at use cases and began to see the potential for using 360 video in a clinical setting, like an operating room. Research showed 360 video to be beneficial for clinical learning for its realism and relatively low simulation cost. There were 2 main research questions. What do students think of 360 video, and what makes 360 video acceptable for clinical learning? In this presentation, I will give an overview of 360 video technology and general technology adoption theory, specifically around early innovations. I'll give examples of how 360 video has been used in higher education and other clinical learning settings. I will describe our research project and the results we found and explain valuable factors for 360 video for clinical learning. And I'll recommend design considerations for educational 360 video. If at any time you'd like to contribute or ask a question, please do so. Just post in the chat or raise your hand. Or if you'd like clarification on any topic that I'm covering. So, although 360 video today is still considered an innovative technology, it actually originated in 1958 when Walt Disney released the first 360-degree film, America the Beautiful. Basically, it was filmed with 9 35mm cameras, which correlated to 9 video projectors, as seen here in the Walt Disney patent application. And basically, they created a 360-degree video projection system above an audience. This debuted at the World's Fair and eventually became a touring exhibit. Later, innovators expanded this architecture with similar designs, creating caves of video screens to immerse viewers. However, this technology remained very complex and interest stayed low until this decade with the rise of consumer head-mounted displays, which are primarily used for video games and virtual reality, and the release of low-cost 360-degree cameras. However, still today, research remains limited as designers search for new uses of the technology. When wearing a head-mounted display and watching a 360-degree video, users see a full field of view of natural video compared to traditional computer-generated virtual reality. When the user moves their head, it changes perspective of the viewing angle. You can see in this photo from the BBC and Oculus. The head-mounted displays vary in quality and function from high-quality versions that connect to a high-powered computer or versions that are made out of engineered cardboard like Google Cardboard, which you can put a mobile phone in and that can be your screen. However, usually the immersive experience depends on the device, and researchers recommend using high-quality head-mounted displays when possible. As well, some innovators continue to explore the multi-projection video caves, like this offered by Barco or VisBox, primarily designed for computer-generated virtual reality, but also can be adapted for 360 video. The cost of cameras to produce a 360 video has significantly gone down. Now there are many options for under $1,000, ranging from spheres made of 2 fisheye or 180-degree cameras to a sphere of 9 small cameras. There are also professional-grade 360-degree cameras available, like the one Panasonic has here, which has been used at the recent Olympic Games and will continue to do so. There's interesting articles on the website about how they used it and filmed the Olympic hockey games. Using a head-mounted display to view the 360 video creates an immersive experience within a video environment. The presence of being surrounded by the video promotes active focus for users. Research shows that 360 video environment may feel normal, increases situational awareness, and improves message recall, which has promoted this technology as a viable educational tool. Currently, innovative educators use the technology in diverse fields, from history tours to engineering and forensics analysis. Researchers find students more prepared for stressful and complex events after viewing 360 videos of the situation. So it has been used to train educators on how to present their content to a large room or in attendance, in that there's a pre-recorded 360 video of large crowds, and you can wear the virtual reality headset and present to a pre-recorded crowd and get the feeling of presenting in front of many people. Policing and forensics have used it to replicate stressful situations, reading crime scenes, and prepare students for those situations. Biology and history have used it to show remote places. So if there's a historical site or a very interesting location across the world, it can be recorded with a 360 video, and when viewers view it with a head-mounted display, they can get an idea of the perception and what it's like actually being in there, and the depth and everything. In 2015, researchers began exploring the feasibility of 360 video for clinical training to prepare students in increasingly complex healthcare situations. The technology creates opportunities for viewers to experience complicated, high-intensity or rare clinical situations as if in the room. Beneficially, students can see every member of a medical team without interfering as a remote digital bystander while viewing the technology. It appears to be a valuable nursing simulation technology for its realism and low overall cost. Also, virtual reality labs have shown sometimes to be able to process more students easily and cost effectively than traditional mannequin labs. Effective nursing simulation should promote teamwork, critical thinking, and situational awareness. Researchers find pairing simulation-based learning technologies with traditional class material improves learning outcomes of students. Simulation technology should replicate complex situations and promote active engagement with users, contributing to their understanding of environments. A study by Chang and Associates found nursing students who watched a 360-degree video of childbirthing had a much better learning performance and understanding compared to a control group that viewed traditional video. Another study by Buckman and Henderson considered interprofessional healthcare students to be more prepared for clinical experiences after watching a 360 video. Research shows students find the experience very realistic and useful for team building and skill work. It improves clinical judgment, and they appreciate the safe learning experience. Nursing students consider the image quality very important for educational 360 video, although they find the experience was realistic and it gave them a high immersive feeling and a presence within the video. A study on general higher education students' use of the technology showed a high presence feeling while watching the video, and it helped students understand remote places. 360 video has been used in teaching empathy towards patients, an important part of nursing and medical school training. Research found a commonality between interviewed nursing students of a strong empathetic feeling for a patient with macular degeneration after watching a 360 video that showed their difficulties hearing and seeing from a first-person embodiment video. Participants had a realistic experience that contributed to increasing their emotional understanding of the patients. Similarly, other studies show how simulation technology strengthens students' empathy towards patients. Currently, I would classify 360 video as an early innovation. The technology is constantly changing. There are limited use cases, and most research focused on developing prototype systems. Research shows that technology adoption generally follows a model created by Everett Rogers in 1962 that shows technology adoption starts slow, it grows exponentially, and then eventually levels off. This pattern follows a timeline which is uniquely dependent on specific technology and its surrounding situations. The difference between the success of each unique innovation depends on the number of users that it attracts and the speed of adoption. Innovators classify as those who think outside peer networks and accept uncertain results, valuing the research investments. Innovators influence early adopters, a large demographic considered the change agent of majority. So in other words, early adopters help trigger critical mass. Creating technology designs according to early adopter needs improves the chances of adoption by the majority. Otherwise, the technology usually becomes a niche and only appeals to a small number of tech-savvy users. With regards to 360 video, most publications focus on technical aspects and video delivery. Therefore, we found a need to understand the perspective of users of the technology, specifically students. So at this point, that would be mostly the background information, and I'm wondering if anyone has any questions about 360 video simulation or early innovation or anything they would like to add. You could just raise your hand or post in the chat. Doesn't really seem like anyone has anything there, so I'll just continue. So the purpose of our primary research project was to help increase the understanding of 360 video as a simulation tool and explore student technology acceptance. Our study focused on nursing students' perspective of 360 video and how it relates to other peer-reviewed research on educational technology. Again, we explored two main research questions. What do students think of 360 video, and what characteristics make the technology acceptable for clinical learning? Participants viewed a readily available 360 video of a clinical situation on a virtual reality headset. And after viewing the video, they were asked a series of open-ended questions about their experience and learning situations. 8 undergrad students participated in the study, 2 of which had clinical experience and 6 had not. The sample was chosen to stay within the project's resource boundaries, although the participants showed some commonality in their responses. Most participants had similar responses, other than individual preferences of specific technical aspects and their learning preferences. All participants said they appreciated learning videos that supported class material and prepared them for clinical situations. They found 360 video very realistic and agreed the technology creates an immersive experience and a feeling of a presence within the video environment. Most participants communicated they believed 360 video could help prepare them for the actualities of clinical placements And they thought 360 video to be adequate for learning, although they agreed the image could be clearer. They value the interactivity of a 360 video experience, but had varying opinions on narration methods, communication, and scene navigation. Participants found 360 video to be very realistic compared to traditional video. Most felt a connection with the people in the video as if they were in the clinical environment. They believe the technology created a much more immersive experience. In elaborating on the realism of 360 video, a participant replied, "Definitely, you get to see everything. I mean, at one point it looked like a nurse was looking directly at you when you turn your head, and you feel like you're in the room. It's more realistic." Similarly, when describing the image quality of the 360 video, another participant said, "It really makes you feel like you're in the environment, and I think that it's very different than watching YouTube. It doesn't make you feel like you're there, it's just different." Most participants found watching the 360 video to be an engaging experience that allowed them to focus their attention on the immersive video, especially since the image encompassed their entire field of view. When asked if 360 video was engaging, a participant said, "Yeah, it's not something you can really take your eyes away from. I mean, it's in your face." All the participants considered 360 video very interesting to use, and they thought the technology could help retain their attention better and help them learn. Other researchers have discovered a positive experience and increased student engagement, which contributed to improved learning results for nursing students who use 360 video compared to traditional text lessons. Most participants discussed an uncertain feeling around clinical placements and thought even more opportunities to experience a clinical setting would be very beneficial in their preparation for the placements. Other research on nursing students and their clinical placements support this. For example, I asked, "Do you think there's a need for more experiences like 360 video?" And a participant said, "Well, every clinical rotation, you do so many of them, but you feel nervous going in because you don't know what to expect or what the floor is like. That would boost your confidence and make you feel more mentally prepared for it and clinical placements at a real hospital." And when asked if 360 video was worthwhile for nursing education, another participant said, "I think it would be important to give yourself some of those simulations before your first clinical, just so you know what you're getting yourself into, rather than watching YouTube videos. It would kind of decrease anxiety." The participants considered supplementary course material helpful for learning, especially educational technologies that emulate hands-on activities. Interesting, they found these experiences to be engaging and rich learning opportunities. What I found interesting was most discussed the benefits, or most discussed that they considered 360-degree video to be hands-on for its realism and its presence. For example, a student said, "I find I learn better hands-on rather than reading just from text. So the fact that I was there, I didn't do a whole lot, but I could see what was going on. I feel I would thrive more in that kind of environment than if you just gave me a textbook and said read." The results from the interview strongly indicate that the technology met and exceeded the participants' expectations due to the realistic environment and immersive experience. They did offer feedback and recommendations for improvements that aligned with other research. To increase the realism of a 360 video experience, the participants recommended improving image quality, offering patient communication, and scene navigation. The participants had few difficulties using the head-mounted display. Although they initially had some sizing issues, especially if they wore eyeglasses, they eventually found a proper fit. And they had varying confidence in their ability to use the technology themselves and had mixed opinions on if 360 video will be better in a lab or as a take-home independent educational tool. The participants also had varying opinions on the value of being able to communicate while viewing a 360-degree video. Most thought talking to students while viewing it would distract them. However, many agree that speaking with a patient during the simulation would prepare them for the real-life clinical situations. Most participants found benefits in being able to navigate around the video scene, in addition to being able to change the point of view perspective with head movements. This would help them feel more involved with the environment and learn the clinical harmony of a clinical setting. At this point, I would like to ask you, what makes technology acceptable, especially for education use overall and for specific reasons? So what do you think makes technology acceptable to use in an educational environment? If anyone has anything to contribute, they can just post in the chat or raise your hand or mention. So we have critical thinking and application of knowledge. That's very important. Return on investment, also important. I think it would be interesting hearing this when you compare what people's backgrounds are. A lack of clinical placements, agree. Fills a gap. I come from a technical background, so I found when I started thinking of this, I was more technical focused, even more so than use case focused. And I feel like everyone has different sort of opinions. Experiential learning, for sure, can be adopted to use individual student needs. I like that. User friendly, for sure. We know all well about that. Well, that's great. So we have a few things here. So it's ranging from critical thinking, application of knowledge, return on investment, a lack of clinical placements, fills a gap, experiential learning opportunities, could be adapted to meet individual student needs, user-friendly, and a safe place to make mistakes and learn from it. And there's all very valuable parts of technology and what makes it acceptable. And understanding the characteristics that make a technology acceptable helps designers create highly valuable solutions. Many researchers follow the technology acceptance model, which was created in 1989 by Fred Davis for the IT industry. And what I like about this is simply this model shows that people intend to use a technology dependent upon the perception of its usefulness and ease of use. And most characteristics and valuable characteristics will fall into either a usefulness or ease of use. So as a broad strategy for technology, if it's useful and easy to use, there's a high chance it's going to be adopted. Research shows that improving technical aspects of educational tools that strengthen students' perception of ease of use and usefulness increases the value and improves their attitude towards these technologies. So basically, this model just says that a user's perception of usefulness and ease of use contributes to their behavioral intention and if they will actually use the system or technology. Our research reflects other studies of valuable aspects of educational 360 video, and our broad themes aligned with the technology acceptance model in that the accessibility and interactivity of 360 video makes it easy to use, and realistic experiences makes it useful. For 360 video to be accessible for students, it should be appropriate for all visual, hearing, physical, and learning needs, with a customizable interface that lets users adapt the technology to their personal situations. For example, some participants found it hard to hear the 360 video, so it should be easily adjustable and have a wide range of volume and support assistive listening technology. Likewise, the participants expressed varying opinions on how they would like narration and on-screen directions displayed while watching educational videos. Some prefer audio narration, while others favored caption text, but all would like the ability to choose their preference. Research shows that 360 video appears to be a cost-effective simulation technology. Although some researchers had challenges creating and editing the 360 video, as well now with the new additions of head-mounted displays, there's standalone versions which could be in the lab, but there's also versions that just take a memory card and you can send out, so it can be used remotely. As for interactivity, the 360 video is considered interactive due to the fact you can move your head and change perspectives, but the technology overall still limits the user as a stationary passive viewer, in that it's a stationary 360 camera and the user can move their head relevant to that, but they can't technically move around the scene quite yet, although there are researchers coming up with solutions. Currently, some designers place multiple 360-degree cameras throughout an environment in an attempt to create the mobility through the audiovisual scene. So in other words, if you recorded a room and there was 4 360-degree cameras in each corner, if I was in this corner of the room and I wanted to move over to that corner, while I'm looking at the video with a head-mounted display, there would be a virtual reality button that could say something like move here, and when you press it with whatever interface you have, probably the hand one, you press the button and it changes over to that perspective so you can see the other camera angle and you can move around, and it gives you a perception of moving through the environment. Other innovative researchers are working on ways to combine 360-degree cameras with remotely operated robot technology to allow users to move the camera location live and in real time throughout an environment. However, currently no best practice of scene navigation for 360 video exists, and most solutions remain in prototyping phases, so innovators continually improve ways to navigate a video scene. Most students or most participants consider practicing communication with patients and others in the healthcare team to be extremely beneficial for their clinical preparedness, and felt speaking to a patient demonstrator would be very beneficial. Today, many telemedicine and video conferencing technologies exist as a solution that could easily integrate with the 360 video to allow communication amongst others. However, challenges may exist in gaining opportunities to record and capture clinical situations with actual patients who may have difficulties speaking with multiple viewers at once. So video producers could use actors in this case, and success has been found in sort of like a choose your adventure, for lack of a better word, in that you have pre-recorded videos. Say you're in an operating room, something happens, it'll come up, you have 4 options of what you do, you choose one, and that'll determine where the next video to show your results. I could also see the 360-degree natural images being worked in with video, with virtual reality and artificial intelligence, and maybe use the natural 360-degree video as a lot of the images in normally the virtual reality, which is normally computer generated, just to make it realistic. But again, there's not many use cases of this sort. The participants found the 360 video very realistic and immersive experience, and research shows that this is the case. Many students were on the opinion that to increase the realism, researchers recommend enhancing interaction to increase the presence of clinical 360 video. The participants all discussed a feeling of being inside the 360 video operating room, and many reported that they sensed what they called the atmosphere when watching it. They consider the technology very beneficial for learning in that they can see many perspectives compared to traditional video, which made the experience much more realistic and useful. Other research demonstrated that the technology does create a highly immersive feeling inside the video, and that the heightened presence presents opportunities to enhance understanding of complex healthcare situations. The participants agreed on the clarity and scale requirements for clinical learning videos. They considered the current quality to be adequate, but felt it should be improved to be more effective. Presenting the challenge, technically the challenge that comes up with this is presenting high resolution 360 video requires much more data than traditional video. Therefore, other innovators are researching new ways to compress the video images, especially for areas that are not currently in the field of view for the user. Also, important to note, especially from my experience, and that research shows that placing the camera, it should be placed at a head level to give a realistic viewing perspective. Otherwise, it can really throw off the proportion. And if the scale and proportion is off, it really takes away from the experience. 360 video provides an opportunity to support experiential learning opportunities and help students prepare for complex events and clinical environments. In reference to the most common experiential learning framework, the Kolb learning framework cycle, currently 360 video could be an opportunity for students to gain a concrete experience in which they can reflect on with their instructors and peers to further learn and prepare for using this knowledge. So in my opinion, the technology is a great way to gain experience, but it's a piece of a full experiential opportunity. It's not the full experiential opportunity. The Association for Experiential Education outlined that the conditions to make experiential learning effective, 360 video shows to support experiential learning through active engagement with the environment, a demonstration of clinical relationships, a student perception of an authentic learning task, an opportunity to explore an operating room or clinical situation, and a safe environment. So in summary, the participants received 360 video. It generally aligns with other student research in that they found 360 video to be a very realistic, engaging, and a potentially useful tool for them to prepare for clinical placements. The participants elaborated that they prefer supporting class material with learning videos and would appreciate new opportunities that help them prepare and feel confident for clinical placements. They consider 360 video a viable option since it offers a more realistic experience than some traditional simulation. The success of 360 video as a learning technology depends on its ease of use and usefulness for users through accessibility, interactivity, realism, and experiential learning opportunities. Overall, the technology appears to be a beneficial learning tool for nursing students, although acceptance by the majority still depends on the research, on the results of early adaptive and innovative educational institutes and the experience of their students and instructors. Again, I would like to thank you for your time to view this presentation. I'd like to know if you have any questions about the research project or 360 video or anything that's relevant. It would be great to have a discussion on the technology and hear some other opinions of relevant experiences. If anyone would like more information, just please email me at jlwright.munca. And again, thanks for your time. And if anyone has anything to say, just post in the chat or raise your hand or even unmute your mic. It's all good. It's a small crowd here.
James, Jonathan here. I was just wondering if, so does the nursing faculty use this to maybe give some earlier exposure to their students? Like, so, obviously there's probably a certain point in their learning before they're allowed to enter into, actually doing some hands-on work. But does this allow them to maybe give some, experiential learning before that stage?
Well, basically, the Faculty of Nursing gave me approval to do this research, but they weren't involved in the project. They've as far as I understand, they've never used the technology before. They were more my sample, but our research and other research show that for general nursing students, this technology can be used before going, because see, the thing about nursing students is they always do these clinical placements, almost like a work term where they go to clinical environments or hospitals and do the work term. But the thing is, it's not always easy understanding what it's like or how it, because they don't have an opportunity to go there before their placement. So a lot of times they'll have to go there and kind of just rely on what they know. But the idea of this technology is that it would prepare them, because when they wear the head mounted display, it makes them feel like they're in the environment. They can get acquainted. They can see how the operating room flows. If there was anything that would be stressful, they can encounter that virtually. And it's mostly for like emotional and stressful. Just be prepared and for situations. And that's how other areas, say like forensics and engineering for like large job sites or public speaking, that's where other people are using the technology as well. So basically just to emotionally prepare for complex and stressful situations.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Thanks, James.
No problem. Is there any other questions or?
James, there was a question in the chat from Terry Lynn. She said, I recently tried an augmented reality headset at a nursing conference, and it was really cool. I learned that for some learners, it was reported that virtual reality created some dizziness with the headset. And I wondered if any students in your study reported that, or if you have any experience on that.
I do have experience through the research with that, and basically, yes, that is a thing, and it can be mitigated by many ways. One is having a steady image. So they release consumer 360-degree cameras, and people even use them for social media. But basically, they're handheld, and you can go around like this. Problem is, like, if you're holding this 360-degree camera, your hand is moving. So if you have your headset on and that image is moving, you're really going to feel it. So from my experience, having the camera very solid so it's not shaking. Also, it should be at head level. There's been times when, like, if it was up too high or low, it really throws off your perception, especially if you're standing, and like if the camera is like high or low, you kind of really feel strange. As well, there's other operating rooms where the camera's above, and it kind of makes you feel like you're floating over it, and I just find that really strange. So there, in the creation of the video or even any virtual reality, the stability and keeping the perspective, like the dimensions of everything accurate, really helps. And another thing people recommend with this type of technology is that it should be used in short spurts and only used when it's really necessary. So, for example, like a complex situation. So, a 3, 5, 10-minute video at a time would be more than enough. It's more just to get used to the environment, but it wouldn't be something that, well, research shows not to make them too long, and I wouldn't recommend it either. It's kind of more short spurts with it. And as for the students that I interviewed, I kept the video short and 3 minutes for that reason, because I didn't want it would be risky otherwise if someone got sick or whatever. But there was no issues from the students that I demonstrated the video to. I also chose a video that was solid at a head level and quite easy to view. But myself personally, I do get motion sick, and me personally, the first time I tried it, I watched too many videos, and the views were off, and I did get motion sick. But once we narrowed it down to quality videos, we didn't have much problems.
Thanks, James. That's the very good answer to that question. And yeah, I never really thought about it before, but yeah, the angle and the height of the video would definitely throw you off. Our next question is from Michelle. She says, I'm sorry if you already mentioned it, but can you provide a name of a particular product you were using? Is there much Canadian content available? From my experience with faculty, US Canadian context quite different.
Yes, so well, I did the study at the Makerspace at the Queenie Library. So they had head-mounted displays there. They used the Oculus Rift. So that is what we use for demonstration. That was connected to a PC. We use a readily available 360 video, clinical video that was on YouTube. And that's pretty much, we never created the content. We just used one that was readily available on YouTube to demonstrate it, because we were mostly looking for the user experience. But we did use the Oculus Rift headset, and it had good quality.
Thanks, James. That's all the questions we have so far. If anyone else has any questions, you can use the chat. Again, is available in the bottom right-hand corner. And as James mentioned, you're certainly welcome to turn on your mic. We have a smaller group, so feel comfortable to do so.
Yeah. And if there's no questions, we can finish early and you can get a little break for the next presentation. But I appreciate everyone's time for viewing this.
Okay, so it seems like James has answered everyone's questions. So we'll call this the end of today's session. Big thank you to James. It was really informative, I gotta say. I think we can all agree that the last year has taught us anything. It's the ability to create realistic, engaging learning experiences is extremely important. And I think you'd almost get the feeling of being there without actually being there, which we've learned is sometimes required. I'd like to remind everyone that a recording of this session will be available after the conference is ended, and CITL will share more information on that in the coming days. And of course, I'd like to thank all of you who attended this session today and encourage you to join our next session, which starts at 3:30 and can be found on the conference Brightspace site. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the remainder of the conference.